Hey folks, in this episode of the podcast, I'm speaking with Zeneca about ZenAcademy. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I am your host, Frederick Van Johnson. Today, I get to sit down with Zeneca, a content creator, a world builder extraordinaire. We're going to talk about his creation, ZenAcademy, and all that went into that project. Zeneca, welcome to the podcast, man. How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is good. You know, I was telling you in our little pre-chat there a couple minutes ago that, you know, as I was doing the research and kind of diving into ZenAcademy, I was like, okay, somebody's building the kind of a human level interface into their, you know, into the academy versus just a menu of click here, blah, blah, blah. You actually went the graphical route, which we've seen before, but not recently. And it's refreshing to see it, to see that kind of UI recently and taking people on a journey into the site. For example, this is what you see when you first go to ZenAcademy.com. It's enter the castle. So immediately I'm intrigued. Right. So take me through this a little bit. Like, first of all, explain, you know, who you are, introduce yourself to the podcasting audience, and then we'll dive into the user interface and the academy and all that.
Yeah. So I'm Zeneca. My real name is Roy, but I go by Zeneca in the whole Web3 and NFT space. I got into the space about 18 months ago. Excuse me. So early 2021. Prior to that, I was a professional poker player for about 15 years. So I had this, non-traditional background. But sort of like the skills I learned there really helped in the in the crypto and NFT space. So getting in early last year, I started, falling down the rabbit hole, I think, as many of us do. And then I started trading and flipping NFTs, finding quite a bit of success, but it wasn't something that I loved doing. It didn't feel fulfilling or rewarding. And around the same time, I started creating content. So I had a newsletter that I started, had a podcast, then I started a second podcast, YouTube channel, and I was sort of like doing that as well as trading. And I was finding that the trading, while it was going well, it led to me feeling really burnt out and unfulfilled. And meanwhile, the content that I was creating, it was like resonating with people. People were liking it, appreciating it. I felt good. I enjoyed creating it. And so I made like a conscious decision to lean more into that side of things and move away from the whole flipping JPEGs field. And that's where the idea for ZenAcademy came from. I sort of looked at what was out there in the space and what was needed. And I think that I still think now, but especially then, there was like a lack of good educational content. Like if someone wants to learn about NFTs and Web3, where do they go? There was not much then. There's more now. There's several projects and platforms, and ZenAcademy is one of them. I think we need about 1,000 more, honestly. But that's sort of like the genesis of me and ZenAcademy. And it started as, it's just an idea, and then like a Discord server basically, where I said, you know what, I'm gonna just start this community from the ground up and say, hey, I want to focus on education and helping people learn. And then so we launched an NFT sale in November. And so like a membership token to access the community and everything like that. And then over the last 6 to 8 months, actually, since then, we've sort of been developing the world. And that's what you see now on the website. It's actually a pretty new website. It only launched like 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe even less than that. But wow. We really wanted to sort of, as you said, bring this sort of world to people where it's great to have an education platform, but if you can sort of add this layer of complexity and depth where people feel emotionally invested and attached, and there's a story and a narrative, like what is ZenAcademy? Where is ZenAcademy? What year does it exist in? Is this in the future? Is it in the past? Who are the characters? All that kind of like fun lore and storytelling and world building stuff is something that we're like focusing on now. And and we call the Academy the castle. So enter the castle is how we started to open up the webpage.
What a great way to think about it, because I look at it and I agree with you. I think I had a conversation with a company a couple of weeks ago about the idea of narrative based education? Like why is education always very, binary? Here, this is how you make a drop shadow in Photoshop. You start like this, you do this, boom. Or this is how you mint an NFT. You go, here's your checklist, go get your digital wallet, blah blah blah. All this. It's all very grayscale, and there's no color or personality to most of the things aside from the person that's presenting the information. So you get your humanity, I guess, from the personality of the instructor, but nothing beyond that. So this is why ZenAcademy looks very refreshing, because you're taking what I think is probably one of the next steps in education, and that's the whole idea of why does this educational topic need to be so dry? Can't we wrap it in bacon, right? Like, you're going to feed a dog a pill, you got to wrap it in bacon and give it to them. They enjoy the pill better, they get the benefits, everybody's happy at the end. Why not wrap education in bacon and go the same way? Is that where you're thinking, just kind of going down that road of why be dry about all this? Why can't we have a little fun with it and weave a narrative around the whole thing?
Yeah, definitely. I think you said the word there, fun, and that's why we're doing a lot of it. We've sort of got, I think of ZenAcademy and like the future, the direction we're taking. There's two pillars. On the one side is like the education front, but the other side is the fun part, and it's about like merging those two together and having them coexist and make learning fun, make being part of an academy, being a student, not this dry thing, but it's like, and NFTs allow that, where you can sort of have this emotional connection. You can be invested emotionally, financially, like through the story, networking and talking to other people, and really just holistically, I would say, a part of the world. And the world is one where there's this strong undercurrent of learning, but you can go on adventures. You could have, who knows where we will lead. We don't have like strong plans. We're intentionally leaving things open-ended because the space is so new and ever-changing, and there's like infinite possibilities. But there could be comics, there could be stories, there could be games, there could be all different things you can do with IP and characters and people, while remaining true to the idea of education and learning and growing, I guess.
Love it. All right, Zeneca. So looking at what you've put together here in ZenAcademy, like I was saying, it seems like a really, a great platform in terms of approaching education from a different perspective. Now bring it back out here into the real world. There's all kinds of anarchy going on in the NFT and the crypto space, and a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt happening right now, which from an outsider's perspective could either be an opportunity because people need to understand what's going on, right? And I need more information, I need to learn about this, or it could be a challenge. They've suddenly soured on the whole space. So do they really need education on something they've soured on? Where do you fall in that spectrum? Is this current sort of an instability of the crypto NFT space, is it an opportunity or is it a challenge for you?
It's very much both, I think. There's certainly, and I think it's a consequence of the fact that over the last year, obviously crypto and NFTs have really boomed in and gained a lot of attention and popularity. But I think a lot of, probably the majority of people, were attracted to the space for quote unquote the wrong reasons. There was a lot of like speculation and like unsustainable and unrealistic, wild speculation that, we've seen that in crypto since the beginning of it. And we see it in all sorts of markets, but especially in, I guess, NFTs over the last year. I think people were attracted to the prospect of get rich quick, make money, flip and retire and all sorts of stuff, which, anyone who knows anything. There's some sound. Oh, that's the website.
That was your website music. I'm clicking on the website right now.
Yeah, I was like, is that a ringtone? Nope, I recognize it after a few seconds. What was I going to say? Anyone who knows anything like about life, that there are no get rich quick schemes that are sustainable or that work. There's no. If it was that easy, everyone would do it. And so, when a space attracts a lot of people who are just looking to make money and who didn't quite understand, I think, the tech behind it, the future use cases, all of the complexity to NFTs and blockchain technology, it's understandable that when things do start to go sour, turn around, crash, And it's not just NFTs and crypto. It's like the whole macro world market is just bleak at the moment. The outlook is not great. It's understandable that a lot of people leave the space, exit the space, have a bad impression of it because they lost money, and it is a challenge to sort of in the future bring them back and get them excited for the right reasons. And maybe they go off and tell all their friends about how terrible NFTs are, and because they don't necessarily understand it. So that's certainly a challenge. But on the flip side, I do think it presents an opportunity where, it's almost like a cliche at this point. Bear markets are for builders, but it's really a good opportunity and time where those who are, who have conviction in the space, who are dedicated, passionate about, being here for the long term, this is a good chance and time to be focusing on building and growing and laying the groundwork and creating the infrastructure for the next wave. Because during a bull market, let's say a year ago, 6 months ago, it's difficult to focus so much on building and growing because the space is chaotic and manic, and market participants are not interested in necessarily education and learning themselves. They just want to again find the next flip, get rich, and attention is like all the spotlight is on the money. But when we're in a phase where we are right now, where sort of markets are trending sideways, and like you can refresh OpenSea or Coin Market Cap 100 times a day, and ETH price is probably still going to be between 1,000 and 1,100 or whatever it's been for the last few weeks, mostly. It just stops being interesting, and so people stop. It's less exciting when number isn't going up, so people stop refreshing and focusing on the price, and it's like the people who are still around, they get to focus on building and laying the groundwork. And I think that's a really exciting thing for those of us who are of that ilk and want to like be here in the future and lay the groundwork for the future.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There's a ton of analogies we can use, right? One of them is that comes to my head because I'm a big astrophysics nerd, right? And I think of the asteroid that hit the planet, wiped out the dinosaurs. It hit the Yucatan Peninsula, and I think of it. I wonder if that's our moment for the crypto NFT space, where it takes this radical kind of shakeup of things so that the planet that we're on now can emerge, right? Where it's hopefully a little bit more stable, and oxygen is at a level that doesn't inspire things to grow to 50 feet tall, so
yeah,
it's
100%
different, right? So
yeah.
We, like the oxygen levels, the analogy or the analog to the oxygen levels is the irrational exuberance in the NFT space, previous to the shakeup. So much oxygen, plants are growing way too big, animals are way too big, all these things are out of proportion, and then asteroid hits, oxygen levels settle down. Now we have roughly 5 to 6 feet tall humans and birds instead of dinosaurs and all these sorts of things. Are we in that shakeup now, do you think? I mean, has the asteroid hit, or is this the first in a series of asteroids that are going to hit to really make sure things get to normal? What's your feeling on that?
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I would say we are in that stage right now where an asteroid has hit, and like a lot of the exuberance and unsustainable speculation has like been flushed out and is continuing to be flushed out. I would say this isn't the first in a series, but I think this might be like the third or the fourth if you look at crypto as a whole thing. 2013, 2017, 2018, 2011, I think there was a crash. There's been a few, and then prolonged bear markets. And it's interesting, every single time you go back, and I mean, I wasn't in crypto until like 2017, but then, and even the previous ones looking back, every time there's this massive crash, mainstream media, the skeptics, and a lot of critics, they say, oh, crypto is dead. It's gone. It's done. It's forever. And then some people believe it, and then it comes back bigger and stronger and better than ever. And we've seen that time and time and time again. And I think that, it would be almost foolish at this point to believe, all right, it's done. It's over. It's like, that's it. I think we've seen this play out, and, not even in crypto necessarily. Like, you look at the .com bubble of 99. A lot of speculation. Things crashed. The internet did not go anywhere. The technology was strong and sound, and I think that's an analogy that I draw on a lot. It's like NFTs as a technology and blockchain as a technology is so revolutionary and game changing, and allows for so many just so much improvement over the status quo in so many different industries that it's not going
Trust.
anywhere.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
trust.
trustlessness. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of scammers and a lot of projects built on houses of sand and wild speculation, and that's going to come crumbling down, and it has. Similar to, again, in the dot-com bubble, there was so much wild speculation, so many projects that could never sustain the valuations they had, so much scam, like people getting scammed left, right, and center via email. Email in the 90s, people said, this is terrible. You get sent an email telling you you've won $1 million. You just have to give your bank details, and people were falling for it because the education wasn't there. People didn't realize that just because it's on the internet, it's not legit. Yes. So I think we're still in that really early stage of the technology. So maybe there's another 1, 2, 3, 4 more asteroids, but I strongly believe that the underlying tech is not going anywhere, and the projects that can utilize it to solve real world problems and improve life for humans one way or another, they're going to thrive.
Yeah, that's that part of that. It's that fight or flight equation, right? And it's like you said, back before the most of the population became more savvy about these internet scams and the Nigerians, scammer, that whole trope and all that. Give me your bank details and please help me. I have $2.5 billion I need to get rid of, and I'll give.
I just need $1,200. Yeah,
I just need 1,200. You can have the rest, right? So you look at that, and there's all kinds of scams. I've fallen prey to some of these scams way back in the day, right? Because some of them are clever, and you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah,
and you fast forward to today, and like you said, if we're in that kind of period where it's internet primordial status and there's the potential for really smart people to extract money from normal people using things that they don't know, i.e. NFTs and crypto, and are we going to have to go through that level as well, right? So we went through the thicket of all these scams. There's still a ton of them out there, but most people are like, yeah, there's no free lunch, right? Do we need to get to that point? Do you see us getting to that point? Or is that, in other words, are we looking for another wave of those scammers that are going to come, and we need to make sure that our guard's up if we're going to play in this NFT and crypto space?
Yeah, I think we are going to get to that point. To this day, people are still falling for the email, like Nigerian prince, to put a label on it, scam, where obviously most people these days know it's almost a joke now. It's like it's very obvious, but it's still getting some people. However, it's way less than it was, and that's a scam that existed before email. People would use snail mail to sort of try and scam people. It's mitigated a lot because of two things, and I think the same is going to happen with crypto and NFTs. And it's like education and it's infrastructure. So as time went on, word spread and people wisened up and now realize if someone sends you an email saying you've won $1 million, it's probably a scam. On the infrastructure side, the spam filter just became a thing. Now, email websites and platforms automatically can flag and eliminate that vector of attack for 95% of incoming spam, scam, junk email. So I think that needs to happen for crypto and NFTs, where on the one hand, people need to just wisen up and realize you do not share your seed phrase with anyone. No one, for any legitimate reason, will ever ask you for it. You don't click on random links and sign transactions with your MetaMask or your wallet without fully understanding it. And on the flip side, I think we need the infrastructure to improve as well, to maybe automatically, read a contract and say, oh, this contract is potentially going to drain your wallet, or whatever it is. If you're trying to mint something, it could say, this is not a minting contract. All signing this does is going to send your money to this other wallet. Whatever it is, I don't know what the answer is, but I think we need to improve again on both the education and the infrastructure side, and we will. It's just going to take time.
Yeah, and part of the allure of this whole space is the unregulated nature of it, or the lack of oversight. Do we, the royal we, do we need oversight into this space in order to put some of those safeguards in place? Like the "are you sures?" and "hey, an AI looked at this contract and it is substantially similar to contracts that have been known to scam people. Do you want to proceed?" Like, do we need that level of infrastructure on top, or will it be self-policing?
I think we need it, at least for the next 50 years. Like, I just think that expecting, quote unquote, the average person, the average consumer, customer, user to be able to navigate this space without any sort of safeguards and be safe is expecting too much, I think, of just of humanity, of the world. And that's not to say that people are dumb or stupid or anything like that. It's just that people have different levels of skills, different types of intelligence. And up until now, crypto has largely attracted those who are interested in tech and finance, or both. NFTs have introduced, basically opened up the world of crypto to everyone. Now there's people who are interested in photography, art, music, gaming, celebrity, the metaverse, fashion. It's whatever. You can find something in the NFT world, membership clubs, movies. And with that, however, opens up, a lot of retail customers or people who aren't as sophisticated when it comes to technology interacting with pretty new cutting edge technology without really understanding it. And that is a recipe for disaster. So I think that, and like even now, like over the last 12 months, crypto and NFTs have really blown up, but there's still only like a minuscule percentage of the world who have a wallet and who are interacting with the blockchain. I think that in order to sort of get to a place where it's mainstream adoption, where I always just do this example where like my 97-year-old grandma and my 8-year-old niece, they can pull out an iPad, go to the App Store, download a game, and they've like interacted with cloud computing, they've interacted with mobile applications and all sorts of other technology and have no idea how it works, and they're safeguarded largely. We need to get to that level of user interface experience, friendliness, and with that, I think requires, to get back to your original point, some element of oversight, regulation, whether it's government enforced or AI enforced, or some like
or a
non-centralized
consortium.
way.
Maybe it's a consortium of heavy hitting whale players in the industry. Again, but do we want to give them the keys to things, right? So that's the catch-20. It is hard. Yeah, it's a hard equation. I think it's solvable. It's just it's. I agree with you. I think there needs to be some level of oversight and something so that people feel safer in there. It's kind of like you said. It's kind of like any kind of technology, whether it's purchasing or e-commerce on a mobile device, or even getting in your electric car. There's thousands of technologies that you have no idea, and probably will never have any idea how they work, but they're working multi-millions of times a second to keep you safe and to make sure that you have a comfortable ride and have everything you need accessible to you. We need that kind of thing over here, right? Over on the NFT side. It feels very, very much like a city of the old West, with dirt roads and stable hitches and watering holes for your horse and all that stuff, versus New York, right? Of today, with its infrastructure and all that. Arguable, the trash situation is one thing, but but it's a modern next generation city. So as we wrap this up, I want to transition into the ZenAcademy here, and that's the spot where presumably a lot of this education is going to take place, and people will form communities and all that. I'm going to screen share it here. Take me through it and what you were thinking when you put this thing together.
Yeah, so like I said before, we started with just a Discord server, and now we've sort of been branching out and creating this world. And so if you look at the sort of like the image on the screen here, the castle, there's different areas. We've got the main academy. We've got actually, I'm not sure how much I can actually give away, because some of this is lore that we haven't revealed yet. But in the bottom right, there's a Zen garden, and it's so like the plan is that as time goes on, we're going to make this whole map interactive, where you can click and get resources and access to different things. So the Zen Garden will be like a big focus of ZenAcademy is mental health and like a holistic approach to education, and especially in Web3 and NFTs, like it can be very difficult on just mental sanity, dealing with like losing lots of money or not missing out on making lots of money, and FOMO and regret, and it hits you from every direction. So we want to sort of emphasize that, learning about this space, it also includes like an element of self-care. So maybe you click on the Zen Garden and you get access to a separate area of courses and guides, and maybe part of the Discord server where there's people helping you out. Similarly, we have the library. I think that's in the top right, or maybe it's in the bottom left. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure where it is, but like a library where we'll have resources and articles on and videos on everything that you might need to know, from setting up a wallet to adjusting gas for a gas war, to different blockchains and exploring, and like there's an infinite amount of resources there. Anyway, that's the idea behind the website and the story, and obviously we're going to bake some lore and world building into it. And I'd say like the focus for the next 6 months is, honestly, I'm realizing the importance of like video content, and specifically YouTube. I think it's the second largest search engine after Google. So much of like crypto and NFTs takes place on Twitter and in Discord. And so that's where we've up until now focused a lot of our energies. It's just like engaging the people there, whether they're members of ZenAcademy or just members of the wider community. But what I've come to realize is that in a lot of ways we're preaching to the choir. If someone's following us on Twitter or in our Discord, they're 95% of the way there. They've drunk the Kool-Aid. They know what NFTs are. They know, they understand a bit. They want to learn. In order to sort of onboard the next million, the next billion people, we really need to sort of go to where they are. And that's not Twitter and Discord. Most people don't even know what Discord is. That's why, focusing on YouTube, focusing on Instagram, focusing on TikTok, and like creating content that speaks the language. Like, we live in the TikTok generation. As much as, I'm 34 now. I don't get it as much, but I like long form articles. I like reading a lot. I like long videos, but I realize that 70-80% of the audience, they won't read an article that takes 20 minutes to read, or they won't watch an hour-long video. They want something that's a 3 or 5 minute clip or a 10-second clip. And so it's about figuring out how to repackage educational content in a way that is appealing to, quote unquote, the rest of the world. And so that's what our focus is on, I would say, for the second half of this year, on the educational front. And then on the fun side, it's the world building, storytelling, PFP type stuff that is fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because there's billions of people, obviously, and if you subdivide it, yeah, sure, there's going to be the people that like that junk food content that's very it's just a snack, right? I want short form video. I want TikTok. I want a tweet. I don't want the meaning of life. I don't want to put in the effort and the time to consume long form content. But on the other side of that, there are the people that love long form content, right? They want to listen to it while they're doing other things. Podcasting is one of them, right? Yeah. They want to listen to it passively while they drive or while they run or whatever. So I think there's no one, or from my perspective, there's no one right answer or one size fits all. Okay, I build this modality of learning like this because a lot of people like that, right? I think you need a buffet depending on where they're 100%. Coming from. Yeah, so it looks like you were building that. That's fantastic, man. So
that's the plan.
What's next? What's next for Zen?
Yeah, honestly, it's YouTube. That's what I like. In the last couple of days, so we launched our YouTube channel. I think it was December last year or January. So like, a good 6+ months ago, but it's not something that we have really put a lot of time and effort into optimizing. It's like, I just wanted to start. I was like, let me just get out there. Let me just turn my webcam on. I'll start interviewing people. I'll start just creating some video content. And it's been fine. It's been great. But it's like, I was in my old mindset of long form content and hour-long interviews, and I wasn't, again, really optimizing for how to reach more people and like appeal to the algorithm as much as I hate that we live in a world where you have to appeal to algorithms.
Isn't it sad? The overlord.
It really is. I was like very adamant from day one. I was like, I'm not going to create thumbnails with my face like in some weird, mouth open position, and I'm still not going to. But I also said I'm not going to like force myself to create 10-second YouTube shorts and all this other stuff. But like I'm not going to create like a set time every week because the algorithm likes that. But I'm sort of becoming convinced now that in to a certain extent the ends justify the means, and if we can reach more people, and if we believe we're putting out good content that's going to help people, it makes sense to sort of play the game a little bit and sort of understand how the algorithm works, create a weekly routine. So okay, we have an interview podcast that goes out every Thursday, we have a live show every Tuesday, we have one short every day that goes out, and figuring that out is like what's next. That's like what my focus is on now. I've just ordered some extra like lighting and equipment to really step that up, because that's really important.
Yeah.
As people say, I was like, I'm just going to get on there and talk, and if the content is good, people, it's not how it works.
It's not how it works. Yeah. That's
No.
what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm just going to get out there and drive on the roads, and eventually I'll hit my destination. No.
Yeah. No.
You gotta have a plan, at least to, even if for your own sanity, because at a certain point you'll burn out, from lack of ideas and inspiration.
Exactly.
So you got to put some rails in there in order to keep it going. This is great, man. So thanks for coming on and doing this. I appreciate you joining us for the podcast. I'm excited to see what's next and what you're building here. I think there's a huge need, obviously, right, for education from all standpoints, whether it's portal based. It's when I think about it, it's almost like Yahoo in AOL back in the day. I feel like we're kind of in that area where they built these interfaces. Remember CompuServe and all those? They built these interfaces way back then so that to do exactly what you're saying, to be less intimidating to people just wishing to get on the internet and communicate and do all that thing. So they built these interfaces that were very inviting and non-threatening. Of course, now we have less inviting and threatening type UIs going on. but back then it was non-threatening, friendly UIs to onboard you into the space, and you get in, you have fun without even realizing that you're interacting with a database and sending packets back and forth and all that. You're just clicking and having fun. We need that today. We need ZenAcademy today to help demystify the space from a current events, like what's happening and why should I care. We need the education layer. What's a digital wallet? What is the blockchain? Why should I care? Where is it going? We need all that stuff. And of course, with Discord, the community layer of it to bring it together and for people to ask their questions and, even their frequently asked questions. We need all that going on. And you're 100%. Building that, right? So,
that's the goal. I think you sort of hit the nail on the head there with questions. I think that's the best way to learn, and even the best way to learn is to ask questions and even answer questions, because there's so much to learn in this space. I had someone ask me on, I think it was a Twitter space 2 or 3 months ago. They said, what are the 2 or 3 questions you most commonly get asked by someone new to the space? And, I sat and I thought, and after about 10 seconds, I said I couldn't come up with anything, because the reality is that everyone has about 50 questions, and it's 50 different questions every single time, because everyone is coming from a different background. They're interested in a different element of the space. If there was 2 or 3 questions that everyone asked and wanted to know, it would be easy. We would just create a website. It would be like FAQ for NFTs, 3 questions, boom, everyone knows. But the reality is that everyone is coming from a different starting point with different goals, and the learning curve is so steep that people have 50 different questions, and there's no easy way to learn other than just to sort of self-learn, trial by fire, get in there and do stuff, and then ask a lot of questions, and have hopefully friends or a community where people are happy to help you and answer your questions and walk you through things, because we're still at that early stage where it's really difficult to learn this complicated technology, which it'll get easier over time. But asking questions is probably the best thing anyone can do.
Love it. All right, Zeneca, we'll leave it right there. I can't resist doing this. I have to do it. So I'm gonna leave you and the audience with our moment of Zen. Here we go. You ready for it? Wait. There we go. let the music play a little bit. They'll play us out.
I love it. Sometimes when I want to like get work done and go on the zone, I just put the website on and just have the music loop. It's just it's peaceful.
It's great. I feel like I need a robe and a staff to go go explore the space. All right, man. We'll leave it right there. Thanks again for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.